Alright guys, so Unreal Engine 5.5 roadmap is out, as well as a preview. We're gonna take a look at this. I haven't taken a look. I'm gonna give you my opinion on those and whether there is a hidden feature that no one is talking about that should be, and other features that are more popular. So character animation, sequencer usability, dynamic sequencer, modular control rig beta. This one looks really interesting, to be honest. Also this one, and mutable customizable characters. We're gonna talk about this later. Skeletal mesh weighting, editing UX, cool stuff. So let's just get into it. I think, you know, sequencer usability is quite important. Like, it's just much easier to, looks like you can filter now which kind of actors you want to show in the sequencer, which is amazing. Thumbs up. Dynamic sequencer looks like you can just looks like it's like just more options to animate a sequence without losing the data if you want to animate something different. That's not what I get from this. Yeah, interesting stuff. Modular control rig beta. Let's see what are the improvements. Here's modular control rig moves into beta, adding quality of life improvements. Module variants enables modules to be easily updated. Amazing. Schematic overlay UX improvement. Amazing. New models, quadruped models, vehicle models. Oh, that's pretty cool. Native bipedal model support for common skeleton types. So just basically the common skeletons that are popular one that you can get your characters from. Amazing stuff. So rig variants are highly experimental tools for upgrading and swapping control rig modules and functions, enabling animators to swap rigs non-destructively to a different variant or backwards and forwards compatibility. So what I get from this is like you can change the rig based on what you want to do, and you won't destroy the original rig that you have. Like this is really good. Like, for example, like sometimes you have like a new thing on your mesh and you need to add a rig for it, and maybe that can be like, if, for example, you add some wings or something, and that could be the case, probably. We'll need to take a look at this. This one looks really interesting. Mutable customizable characters and meshes. Amazing name, super long. Still in beta. Creates dynamic skeletal meshes, materials, and textures at runtime for creating character customization systems and dynamic content. So it's basically like character creator. Looks like a simplified version for doing this. We will need to take a look at this because this looks like a super heavy feature. You know, it has a lot of things. Looks like it in the long run it's gonna help you, but if you don't really need it, probably it's gonna be overkill. I feel like this one is really good. Prevent C fighting. So what happens is usually like you have that shirt here, for example, for this character, and then you put the jacket. Then you put the jacket here, and just, you know, you overlap the meshes start overlapping, and you can see the jacket overlapping with the shirt, and that's just not really nice. So that's amazing. That's thumbs up. We're gonna take a look at this in the future. Skeletal mesh weight editing UX, amazing stuff. Isolation, just basically more UX for painting your weights. Which is basically we're moving to a full transition for you know, painting the weights here, which is really cool. Really cool. So animation deformers, I think this one is gonna be quite specific. Like I saw some videos like you can just deform some meshes by using these controllers. Sequencer will allow animators to easily add deformers to their characters on demand and in one click. These deformers will be animatable and driven with control rigs, enable new and more advanced animation schemes. Okay, so you can animate deformers within sequencers, auto animation deformers inside control rig, pre-built library plugin containing a collection of new control rig with built-in deformers usable for production. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Sequencer animation layers. Okay. Oh, this is really interesting. Like you can actually create layers on Sequencer and put a weight on it and just turn it down. Like if you don't want like you have like your blocking animations like this, and then you can turn it down to not fully be blocking. That will be really cool. Lots of workflows for Sequencer actually. ML Deformer, amazing stuff. Just for very cool muscle deformation. I believe that's what it is. Looks really cool. Physics control component. Oh, okay. This looks really interesting. Physics control component is a plugin that allows you to add simple, intuitive, and powerful physically based controls to a blueprint. This helps you gain benefits of emergent physics, motion, and static meshes, while retaining artistic and gameplay control. Simplified creation of... So this looks to me like you want to add some physics into your blueprints and you just want to add a component there and you just, you know, ragdoll stuff made easier or more, you know, more weird stuff with physics. That could be the case. Choosers, proxy tables. The hell is this? Choosers provide a robust game context asset selector with a lot of excellent additional features and debugging. While the driver was animation originally, we exposed choosers to be able to select nearly any type of asset for the release. This can encompass multiple levels of complexity, from simple random selectors to database-driven logics involving 1000s of animations. It looks like a content browser for animation. And you can mark here, it's not important, nice to have. Amazing. We can decide a feature of Unreal. Audio-driven animation for MetaHuman Animator, amazing. You'll need to try that out. For those of you going into the deep details of, you know, acting. Okay, here's the big boss. Are you ready for this? Megalights. It's a new experimental feature that allows artists to add hundreds of dynamic shadow casting lights to their scenes. Artists can now light scenes playfully without constraints or impact on the performance. With Megalights, lighting artists for the first time can use textured area lights with soft shadows, lighting functions, media texture palette, and monochromatic shadows on consoles and PC. This is huge. So this is basically the nanite for light. So what happened before is that you can put some point lights and you have a radius, right? So the more you overlap, the more these point lights are overlapping, the more overdraw, let's just call it that way. Like it becomes heavier and heavier to use. And I don't know if it happened to you, but it's when you have more than 4, I believe, either 3 or 4, you start seeing an X there, a big X. And that means it's just too much and you cannot have too many of those because obviously you want to put those lights in the, you know, in areas where are important, and the lights that are not that important, you can put static lights at the back and nobody will bother. With this, you can just put mobile lights everywhere. And looks like performance is not accepted. What kind of sorcery is this? Very, very cool stuff. I think this is the biggest update so far And in terms of performance, this will be really, really good. Those of you who have been, struggling with Lightning performance, this is gonna be a good one. Hardware ray tracing has made improvements on the underpinning systems, which all fall into the external facing hardware. So the lower level system all impact performance and capabilities of Lumen, path tracing, and light baking. There are improvements, synchronous evaluations, ray tracing code, improvements to caching, and better management of acceleration structures. The intent of these changes is to make it flexible to use hardware ray tracing at higher refresh rates on platforms where there is hardware support. Basically just, performance support for hardware ray tracing. Amazing for those of you who are into offline rendering. Local exposure is a technique that applies both highlight and shadow detail on top of the global exposure. This is useful for objects that have a high dynamic range aligning setup, like dynamic time of day system, for which applying a single global exposure adjustment may be not enough. It's actually very good. So what happens is you change your exposure and you have like a good lining for that particular case, and then when you change it, it's like the exposure is just not right. So this is huge, to be honest. This is really huge, really huge. Path tracer volumetrics now supports reference quality rendering for both the sky atmosphere and volumetric clouds, offering opportunities for a fully rendered reference ground truth image creation. Interesting. In order to preserve interactivity, some optimizations to the ray tracing may can resolve visual artifacts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is mostly for the offline rendering guys. And for special temporal denoiser is a plugin to provide temporally stable denoising to offline path tracing. Again, more stuff for offline render, just to have a prettier image. Vulkan ray tracing. Not really excited for this one. Path tracer, same stuff, just offline, but prettier. That's all you need to know. Render path improvements. Not possible to alter the scene capture, custom render passes. Okay. So basically the render pass used to be like really bad quality, I believe. But now you can include a lot of details for the render passes. Cool stuff. Okay, this one's really cool. Mesh texture color painting. In release, we now support mesh painting on Nanite Mesh. This is huge, guys. This is really huge. For those of you who don't know, Nanite do not support mesh painting with Nanite. So let's keep reading, and I will give you my thoughts on this. Nanite Mesh instance with minimal performance and memory overhead. Before 5.5, the use of Nanite prevented these common mesh painting workflows, which allow local variation and appearance of instance of the same geometry. This is huge. Whenever you want to use vertex painting, you need to disable Nanite, vertex paint, enable Nanite again, and you need to do it the whole time. This is really annoying. So this is a huge one. This one is this is critical, man. Okay, now I'm not gonna amazing workflow. Just for whatever. 5.5 Mesh Paint tool has been extended to add a new texture color painting mode that paints to virtual texture stored on mesh components. This is to support workflows similar to vertex painting, but that scale with texture resolution instead of vertex count, which works more efficiently with Nanite Mesh. That's true. You don't really use vertex painting for your data in Nanite. It's very heavy. Support for copying between vertex and texture color painting has been added. Amazing stuff. There is an option to auto-propagate the texture colors to vertex colors while painting. Amazing. Amazing. This is very, very good. Very, very good for world building. I don't think many people are talking about this. Orthographic rendering, okay. Some people like orthographic rendering, cool stuff. I can see some uses for some type of games where you want to have this isometric view. Very, very cool. This is actually really, really huge. For those of you who want to have like a different type of rendering, graphic rendering is actually really good. Really cool. There you go, a stylistic choice for choice of gameplay, just what I told you. Similar to isometric views. Amazing stuff. Render parallelization, our improvements. Let's see, this impact of the change to dramatic performance increase of up to 2 times by reducing the number of stalls, as well as offering minor improvements to platform dynamic res and render trade time. As performance qualities, performance upgrades. Amazing stuff. Day sequence. Okay, this one maybe really cool. Day sequence is an experimental plugin that automatically generates a 24-hour day cycle, allowing artists to easily create their lighting with artistic control over sun, moon, stars, atmosphere, and clouds from within the sequencer tool. That's really cool. In addition, for all these basics, day-night sequencing to the game. Day sequence also handles network synchronizations, out-of-the-box multiplayer support, so all the players will see the same time of day. Volume overrides, procedural sequence creation to emphasize date-oriented approach to lighting. So not only like based on a time, but also based on some logic. Amazing stuff. This is actually very, very, very important. Bindless rendering, a low-level feature related to management of textures and other types of data buffers in modern render hardware. Adding support for bindless resource will allow more flexible GPU programming. Okay, this is basically if you want to enter to the deep water of Unreal Engine 5, you will have. I mean, more power to you, man. I'm not touching this. But for those of you rendering gurus who want to mess up with the rendering of Unreal, this looks like a really cool. First-person rendering. Okay, we added initial support to first-person rendering, which includes preventing the player hands and weapon from clipping into world objects. A separate field of view which allows developers to specify a field of view that differs from the rest of the world for the first-person assets. This is huge. If you ever work on a first-person shooter, it's really hard because you have the camera for the first-person player and the camera for the person who's actually watching the player. Also, there's a lot of collision issues. Sometimes you look down, it's like, that's really cool, actually. Not into first-person games, but if you are, this is a really cool update for you. This is huge, actually. First-person rendering feature works with all major primitive types of materials, including opaque, translucent, and also Niagara particle system, as well as nanite geometry. New blueprint functions has also been added for transforming between world and first-person spaces. Cool stuff. Really, really cool stuff. Looks like, camera work for first-person view is just really annoying. You don't want to be clipping the camera into the, into the player's weapon. Local fog volume are actors that can be placed to quickly create variations of fog in a simplistic and efficient manner. This is huge. If you want to decorate your environments, this is going to be a easy update. Will allow you to just, be very specific where you want to put your fog. Local fog volumes, unlike volumetric fog, works across all platforms and scalability levels, making them ideal to use for low-end and high-end platforms. by providing consistent visuals with other lighting systems. So they work together with volumetric fog and everything. Are production ready? All right. Substrate, it's beta. Substrate material have moved to beta status as a release 5.5. They have not yet been proven in large-scale production, but all the features of legacy materials are supported. More importantly, all the platforms with UE deploys are now supported. Work on cook times. To be honest, I'm waiting for a better workflow for this. Like, at the current state, it's not really user-friendly. It looks really promising, to be honest. I hope they just keep working on this and just make it. Eventually, they will make the transition to Substrate, I believe. So I will just wait for this. I don't think we really need this now. Heterogeneous volumes in Niagara allows you to import BDV volumes into sparse volume texture for rendering. Okay, so just more support for Niagara for importing the volumes. Okay, so if you know what BDV means, at least in Houdini we had all these points, and you can create, you know, these assets that are really not a geometry. They're not constrained by the geometry or anything. They just render super good. It's just BDV volumes, like Clouds is a good example. Like Clouds, so you can add Clouds as a BDV volume. Looks like you can import those into Unreal, I believe. Just better support for them. External data layers. Actors within a world partition can now be associated with a specific game feature plugin. Use external data layers. Okay. Data layers can also be parent to external data layers that result in streaming levels generated from this association will be injected only upon plugin activation, which can set a runtime. Ultimately, using external data layers allows for various game feature plugins to add actors into levels without affecting the base game content, making them ideal for DLCs and live game operations. Okay, so basically that's just what it is. Like, you have a DLC and you want to add new actors, and usually what happens is for the DLC you will have like an extra branch, you know, and you have to download the whole branch and everything. With this one, it looks like you can just put those assets into this layer and you won't see it if you don't have the DLC. Like, for example, you have a secret boss fight, you can already put it into your game, put it in another layer, and when you put the game without the DLC won't have the asset, and when you have the DLC, it will just pop out just naturally. Amazing stuff. Static lighting. Experimental support for static lighting has been added to world partition levels and level instance. This is huge. Like, I'm all up for mobile movable lighting, dynamic lighting, less trouble, less technical part. The reality is static lighting is still the fastest way to render, especially if you're making a big game. Static lightnings are just it's just a really important part to get those 120 FPS going if you really want to go that way. Not every level needs to be dynamic. Obviously, in the ideal world, dynamic lighting is the only lighting we have. But, you know, static lighting is just as important until today. So, light maps data in world partition level is packed per grid cell for streaming according to their actor streaming settings. Volumetric light maps use independent cell size and distance, which can be adjusted under world settings. A new world partition static lighting command builder is provided and is recommended for loading and baking static lighting world partition levels, which is this one. If you wanna have a static lighting, you can definitely use this command. You can also use this one. Amazing stuff. It's experimental, so I wouldn't be playing too much with it if I were you. PCG procedural content generation. GPU compute allows you to harness some of the power of the GPU hardware and parallel of computation intensive process behind the scenes. So basically, I believe they just compute faster. This is what I get from all this. It can also write directly to the GPU scene, allowing for fast and efficient spawn of large amount of static meshes instances with no impact on CPU performance. Amazing stuff. Okay, access to points, attributes, whatever. Amazing stuff. GPU all the way. Grammar. In the context of procedural content generation, grammars refer to formalized systems of rules that will define how the content ought to be generated, or structure, often using a simple representation such as a symbol or a word. These rules will dictate how to combine or string together smaller elements such as walls, columns, or panels to create more complex structures like fences or buildings. This will be how to combine string. Cool. In order to facilitate the use of grammars, several new nodes have been introduced. So select, sprinkling. We're not getting into details here. Amazing stuff. Just for more rules. I never heard the term about grammar before, to be honest. I guess this is more. I'm not sure. I would just need to test this out. Graph Executor B2 scales under multi-threading applications. Just better frame rate. Amazing. Geometry processing. Model, modify, and combine and output meshes directly from the PCG without UE's dynamic mesh type. Okay. This also allows mixing, modeling, and instancing for use cases. If you want to model procedurally, that's your thing. A PCG building generator can populate its sites with models instances using a grammar and produce a unique geometry for its rooftop and floors. It can resample that produced rooftop geometry to spawn assets on top. It can also produce its own shape model to apply the grammar. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. I can see you can create like really, you know, very weird meshes for, you know, what's the name of this thing you use in production, like particles or things like that. So create a spline mesh node has been added to easily assign meshes to their splines in PCG. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Way needed before. Word rate cast has been added as part of an effort to generate rate casting in PCG. Okay. I think I will need to try this out. Pathfinding. Now to add support for a pathfinding search algorithm across data. Interesting. So just better pathfinding, you know. So what happens is usually you want to create a very natural road, and using these pathfinders are just really good. I used to use them a lot in Houdini when I was working at Ubisoft. These pathfinders were quite important to create natural roads. So cool stuff. Cool stuff. Elevation isolink, able to efficiently build isolinks from surface data such as landscape. This is useful for careful placement of assets near ledge and along slopes. Amazing. Right to Niagara data channels. It's like weird stuff, but I guess it has some uses. So I guess you can just combine what you create in PCG with Niagara and just export. No, it's, yeah, you can just combine, you can link between those two to create some interesting effects. Cool stuff. Save to PCG data assets. Now save the input data collection PCG data asset directly from the PCG graphics execution and its place in. It can open dialog or save a predetermined location. Will rerun every time the graph is rerun, but will not execute if the inputs are the same. And specify a description and color as well. So basically, it's like a container, right? Oh, what's the difference between the one we had before? I guess it just saves all the data there. This looks like an asset, you know, static asset like that. Those are the values. Don't change them. I have a feeling it's like that. Builder settings, build menu. Or partition building can generate PCG components in a level and save the results. Okay. Introduce PCG builder settings. I just support forward partition, I believe. Additional nodes. Amazing. Blur. This is actually quite good. Just more nodes to play with the PCG. Zen server. Okay, developer iteration. That's for a solo developer, this is too much. But Zen server. A snapshot for faster build farm cooks. Streaming to target platform. Amazing stuff. Unreal Zen as shared DDC. If you're making an online game, good luck to you, man. This is, oh my god. Motion design. Cloners, Effectos, UX enhancements. More stuff for... there you go. Motion design is a word that I was looking before. For the PCG to procedural modeling stuff. Okay. Not really into this stuff, like maybe for esports. If you are into esports, wanna have this kind of animations, that will be really cool. Actually, I may take a look at this for my Age of Empires 4 channel. So audio insights, meta sound sociability, meta sounds pages, amazing audio. Editor preview, you can already preview the mobile view here. Mobile render, which is amazing. XR resolution scaling. Upscaling modules, to the ability to perform upscaling with the OpenXR compositor. I don't have no idea what this is. Vision OS 2.0, mobile forward and desktop forward feature parity. Like, who use forward render now? I mean, when you use forward render, it's like extremely fast rendering. To be honest, you can achieve, like, you have, if you want to make a dirt cheap game like super fast, forward rendering is your choice here. Okay, this one, I'm really interested in this one. Modeling tools, beta. Weld and collapse improvements. Well, now weld to the center. A new weld to tool will weld to the last selection. Amazing. We didn't used to have this before. I was looking forward to it. This is a very common operation. It's basically weld edge, vertex, and weld bridge. Very cool. Transform and align, not work with any primitive component. Okay, amazing. Edit pivot point, runs with an active geometry selection. Okay, sculpt. Okay, when the stylus and tablet plugin is enabled, the vertex and dynamic sculpting brushes will now support pressure for brush strength. Are we looking in the future of ZBrush inside of UE5? I'm gonna test that out. Split tool. Now show a preview of how it will split your mesh and has new option to split by polygroup. Material ID. Okay, cool stuff. Mesh to collision. Amazing stuff. The UI, yeah. I mean, this is really good when you're just creating very specific collisions. It's actually very useful. Polycut has a cut outside option. Okay. Primitive new capsule tool supporting changing of number of slices along with the cylindrical selection. So now we can create a capsule. Cube grid, if run with an active element selection, initialize the from pivot location, like edit pivot. Okay, whatever. Modeling workflows. Selection conversion. Mesh element selection conversion covers all cases, so selections are now consistently preserved when the selection type changes. Okay. So this is very. So this is how you can model in Max. You can just select the faces and then change it to the edge selection, and it will select all the edges that are around the faces you select. It's just really useful actually for modeling. And now obviously they changed the colors. Now they will show like yellow. UV tools, brush paint selection tool, or both in the 2D and 3D viewports, and has the option to brush an island at a time. So basically it's just for relaxing, I believe. Why else will you use the brush tool? Or maybe just for a selection. Make island operation, takes the selection and makes it into a separate island. Remove all seams inside the selection, creates a seams along its boundary. Okay, so you can separate this into an island if you want. Transfer UV tool. Transfer UV values from a mesh that has been simplified using the existing positions method, allowing UV layout. Oh, so basically you can transfer the UVs to a mesh that has been simplified, but you need to use the existing positions, so otherwise it won't work. New layout options. Okay, amazing. Export UV snapshot, sometimes useful when you want to use this in Photoshop. Texturing tools, experimental. Okay, I've been playing with this quite a while. I find this extremely useful for a couple of things. One, reducing the maximum texture size of your content in the in the content, not just in the at runtime, which is great if you want to downscale some textures and your project size. And the other one is use of the RGB merging tools. You don't need to go out in Photoshop, merge all the, merge all the textures in each channel. So that's really cool. A new note is histogram scan, histogram range edge detect. It's actually very good. This one is huge actually. Warp texture path, improve default material in 3D preview. New material provides open slots for standard material changes like base color, roughness, normal, specular, metallic. Amazing. New export mode. Export texture graph allows you to use texture graphs and reusable utilities when expose input-output parameters. So this is actually very, very similar. I like the distort thing a lot. There is a lot of possibilities with this. Gonna have to try it out. It's very similar to the modeling tools where you don't need to export your texture to make some changes like in Substance or anything. You can just do it here. Geometry scripting. That's a huge list. I'm not gonna read it, but amazing stuff. More procedural modeling. Love it. Content pipeline. Not really care, to be honest. Not really care. A framework. This is for as part of UX revamp. The Stage 3 editor has introducing more eye-catching colors, icons, and UI accessibility. Oh, this is for the AI, right? Yeah, this is for the AI. Speak teams with multiple members collaborate to create more complex AI systems using the modeler's Stage 3 features. Just like Blueprint Difference tool that came before, the new tool is very sweet for this format and review the work and easily identified added. To be honest, I have no idea what this is, but I will have to play with the Stage 3 in the future. Looks really cool, to be honest. Gameplay cameras. Coordinating cameras in Unreal Engine has never been easier. We're aiming to provide a new workflow with tools and data assets which try to make multi-user camera auditing for reality by splitting the system into multiple logically organized files. Users should be able to easily author new cameras modularly as a team and integrate them into the system that will handle transitions between different setups, and very flexible and stream way our toolset will ensure that debugging will be easier than ever. And as we are making the system, okay, cool stuff. Like, camera is a big thing. Struct utils. Have no idea what this is. Instance actors. Objective of instance actors is to replace actors with mass entities to convert them to a fly between actors entities. So this is for mass, right? You can have a huge crowd of actors there. That's what I get from this. NavMesh and NavLinks were looking into providing automatic NavLinks generation. So procedurally generated words can have also procedurally NavMesh generation. Amazing stuff. Character Mover 2.0 support. As we keep developing and making a new character mover better, we're making strides to keep latest UE5 animation technologies, including motion warping, more animation stuff. Amazing. Learning agents is a plugin that allows game development to train and deploy bots in Unreal Engine using reinforcement learning and imitation learning. Amazing stuff. Did we have this before? Cool stuff. Simulations, Chaos Data Flow, Editor. Interesting. So basically you can just have an editor for the chaos. Interesting. We need to try this out. Chaos Flesh, experimental. So muscle deformation. So this is not the one we saw before. Yeah, this one is not the one. It's just for more natural transitions. I believe this one is the one we're looking for the muscle deformation. Amazing. Chaos Visual Debugger, amazing as well. If you're making simulations, you can debug all of those. Chaos Modular Objects. Now you can just put a wing here and just fly, I guess. Chaos Destruction. So what's new in Chaos Destruction? This is actually quite important. Achieve cinematic quality levels of destruction in real time. In addition to great looking visuals, the system is optimized for performance and grants artists and designers more control over content creation and fracturing process by using intuitive non-linear workflow. All right. I guess we will have to try a new destruction. Niagara lightweight emitters. Okay. Looks cool. Looks cool. I'll have to try that out. Niagara data channels, not really a Niagara guide, so not really sure what this is. Enhanced text rendering in UMG. Now we're talking. This workflow will enhance both visual fidelity and rendering performance for fonts with the following text rendering features. Fonts can now be scaled without losing clarity. Amazing. This used to be the case where, for example, you have a UI and you have the number, the damage indicator, and you want to animate it. And by animating, you just make it bigger. And the number just is pixelated. So I believe this will change everything. Higher quality effects such as outlines, drop shadows by using distance fields in materials. That's really cool. Shadows are really important as well as outlines for UI. Reduce memory usage at runtime. Amazing stuff. Love it. Scriptable tools. A new modular behavior-based tool has been added to replace 5.4. Tool builders. What the hell is this? Additional plugin directories. So basically, you can have a library tools that can be updated in one central location or referenced by all your projects. Oh, okay, that's really cool. Before, like you used to create a project, and you know, it's just like you need to add all the plugins over again. Now you can have a one just plugin directory, and all the projects you create will use those plugins. Amazing. Batch renamer, love it. Just rename your assets very quickly, especially the outliner. It's just really good. Rename multiple access and actors and add prefix and suffixes. I love it. Reference viewer UX enhancements. To be honest, I didn't have a problem with this one. I think it was really useful. You know, it just looks better. I guess it's not that important. Media input output holder composite for video and emissive materials. The hell is this? I have no idea. Media IO timecode track support. Add support for an extend timecode track to sequencer. What's the timecode data? It's also, I don't know, we will see. Production rendering pipeline, movie render graph, beta. You know. I guess this is for offline rendering? Is that where it release? Yeah, it is. Render layers for all asset types. New experimental launch of movie render graph. Okay, so just layers for compositing. Not really my thing, to be honest. Not for game development. Custom EXR metadata. Whatever that is. IDs in graphs. Amazing stuff if you want to make a movie. Not really my thing, but cool stuff. Virtual production. I'm gonna have to skip that one, man. Like, I'm really interested in learning this for the esports part of things. But not now. VR, who uses VR these days, man? Level visibility controls, color grading panel, photography and bookmark. Okay. Protocols. The hell this is? Well, overall, very cool. I'm really interested in. It looks like there are a lot of animation updates in terms of UX. That's really cool. Mega Lights is gonna be a huge one, as well as local exposure. What else we're talking about? First person rendering if you're doing a first person game, of course. Local fog volume, very nice. Static lighting, of course, very important. Then we are talking about their modeling tools, of course, very nice. And UI as well. Text is really cool. Overall, it's a really cool update, to be honest. I found there are many features I will be using, and many features I won't be using. Of course, Unreal is used for many stuff. Overall, I feel like I wanna try it out with my project. I don't feel like I'm in danger if I go for the preview version. I think it's many things that I wanna use. So that's it, guys. We have a new patch coming soon. These are the patch notes. Looks really cool. This is the roadmap, so make sure to check it out. And yeah, I see you in the next one. Bye.